This is a real quick video. I'm going to show you how I have Hyprland on Arch set up, how I have all my workspaces set up, and just sort of the basics of my sort of just how I do everything. So right now I'm on something called Hyprland. If you don't know, Hyprland is a desktop environment on Linux that is very different from something like Windows. On Windows, you have windows that you drag around, sort of like this, except you drag the top bar and stuff. On Hyprland, you don't. You just have full screen things like this, and you can add more windows of any type that you want. And it seems weird, especially if you're used to Windows, but from experience, like this is quick. Like I've been using Windows all my life, and it took me like about 2 days to get used to this. And honestly, this is what made me stay. Like, I went back to Windows for a little bit and I was like, oh my god, for the first time ever, my experience on Windows was genuinely worse than Linux, solely because Windows uses a floating window environment, is what it's called. But a tiling manager like Hyperland, it's like I literally installed Arch just so I could use this again. Like, this was the deal breaker. For me, for too long on Windows, it would be the case that, like KDE Plasma or GNOME. Like, okay, it's pretty cool. It's about an equal experience to Windows, but there's some things here and there, like Steam works a little bit worse, and I need to fiddle around a little bit, which I do like doing, but I don't like doing constantly. And I was like, okay, at that point, why? Like, Windows pretty much does very similar stuff, and better in some cases, like games. This Hyperland, it's like, wow. Like, it seriously outperforms any other experience I've had on a computer before. And despite all its issues, Hyperland, the tiling manager, is what keeps like pulling me back. Like, I switch back to Windows to do something like video edit it, or like play games, certain types of games, and it's like, oh my god, like I miss this. It's gotten to the point where I'm now dual booting, and I don't dual boot. Like, usually it's either both, but like it's gotten to the point where I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave this, because this is genuinely wonderful. Like, I love Hyper. I can't, if you're using Windows, I can't recommend Hyperland enough if you have the time to set it up, because it is a bit of a manual setup. We'll go over that. I'm talking about all that today. So if I go to Windows 6 or Super 6, I'm sorry. This is my workspace. How workspaces work is you have stuff like this, and you can switch between different workspaces that you set up with Windows and the key. I have Windows V set up to make it like a window almost, which I rarely ever use because that's what I'm trying to escape. We can just hold Windows and drag it too. Windows Q pops up a terminal. Windows F. It's all pretty standard. It's the default Hyperland configs, and I actually really like them. I do a few custom ones, like I'm not going to press them, but Windows P and Windows O, which those will turn off and turn on the second monitor, which I need for some compatibility in certain games. I need to like turn off my second monitor, start the game, and then turn my second monitor back on, which is super easy. It doesn't reset anything. I turn it off, it disappears, turn it on exactly as it was when I turned it off. It's beautiful. I am using Waybar, but you might notice that this, like, you've heard of minimalist, right? I don't think you've heard of this. This is very minimalist. It has the two things that I care about on my taskbar. Am I connected to the internet? And what time is it? I don't even have date. I mean, sure, I can click on this to turn on date. I don't like doing that because it's small. I usually just type date into the terminal, which tells me, the date. But it's very minimalist. Waybar it's like super minimalist because I don't need all that. I don't need anything. I also am using Rofi, which is an application launcher space. It opens apps. I also like to do basic math on it sometimes. I am a programmer, and I'd rather just like do like basic math. Windows Alt space, super Alt space, brings up a pretty nice calculator, like 2 plus 2 equals 4 times 2, 6. It's it's a basic calculator, and it does the stuff I need to. It is pretty in depth. I just want to go over how I have everything set up. So I'm using an X11 cursor called a GDK cursor, an X cursor. Okay, a GNOME cursor. I think both KDE and GNOME. It's an X cursor, whatever. I'm not using a Hyper cursor. Hyper cursor is a new format made by the same people who made Hyperland, or I don't know, maybe. which is like everyone because it's open source. So there's no like, I can't point to specific people. I mean, shut up. This is using the older X cursor because it has better compatibility with apps. It's that simple. And there's more X cursors than hyper cursors. So yeah, first in the first workspace I have, Windows 1 is Steam, no rhyme or reason. Windows 2 is my browser. It doesn't really matter what these are as long as I know what they are and they're pretty intuitive. Windows 2 brings up my web browser. This is probably my most used one because, unsurprisingly, I do a lot of stuff on the web. Windows 3, this is my development environment. Right now, this is my drive mounter, which does some weird NTFS stuff to mount my drives. And Windows 4, this is my working workspace. This is one of the only workspaces that really changes significantly. This is whatever I'm working on right now. Blender, I'm not doing anything in Blender. I just opened it because I didn't know what else to show. But I could also be doing like Godot, for example, my game engine. If I'm doing basically if I'm doing any proper work, I do it in this. Windows 5. This is my terminal. File Explorer combo because these two often go together. Like if I'm doing something in terminal, a lot of times I need to use the File Explorer, and especially vice versa. You can use Windows right click to drag these. Usually it's like this. If I'm doing like multiple operations, which by the way, this is one of the main reasons why I love this. Windows E opens up another file manager. Do you know how like annoying it is to have two file managers open on Windows and drag them? It's not difficult, it's just annoying. But if I just type Windows E, boom, there it is. Like I love that. That is so nice. That is just seems like such a small thing. And that's mainly what tiling window managers have. They have just a bunch of these small little things that just drastically improve the experience. Like of course Windows right, I can change which window I'm in. But that's super nice. Whenever I'm doing stuff in the terminal, I just make it bigger. Maybe I need to have multiple terminals open for something. Open it. Maybe I want to stack them up. It's super nice, and it's a lot more intuitive than it looks. Like it looks if you're like so for the external, you're like what the hell? Like what? That seems so weird. But when you actually start using it, it's super quick to pick up on. Then Super 6, this is, or my 6 workspace. This is nothing. This is pretty much whatever I want, but usually it goes unused. Same with the Windows or Super 7. Now we're gonna talk about. My second monitor. Now I'm gonna drag you guys over to Windows 6. OBS is on my second monitor, and then I'm gonna go ahead and set the screen capture to my other monitor. Whoa, you guys are seeing my shitty ass 16 by 10 monitor. There's a reason why it's this. It's not my main monitor. So Windows 8 is the first one, and you can't see anything. That's because that's where OBS is. So on Super 8, this is my second monitor's workspace. I have OBS, and then Super 9. This is my web browser. Of course, I'm watching this guy. Forgot I even had this open. And this usually sometimes I have this paired up with Super 2, my main monitor, where I'll drag something between the two. And so yeah, like if I'm watching a video in the background, this is usually what I use it on. And then Windows 0, this is Discord, which I'm using this because I don't want to expose any of my chats. But yeah, don't worry about this. Don't worry about that. Don't worry. I didn't even realize. Don't worry about that. Okay, don't worry yourself about that. Okay, that's not important. I am sure nobody is surprised. Okay, I'm sure absolutely nobody is surprised. But yeah, like it's such a small thing, and it seems so similar to Windows. But like genuinely, my experience, like I love not having a taskbar. It's super nice. The only thing I really noticed I care about a taskbar for is just the time and the Wi-Fi. I like having it on the bottom because that's what I'm used to, and also I found a bunch of buttons are usually on the top, so I prefer having it on the bottom because I might not accidentally click it. It just seems more normal for me for it to be on the bottom. But this is like when I was making a simple C++ script, which I never ended up finishing because I didn't want to just track my package, right? To go to do a GET request to the USPS website and track my package because I thought, who cares? Why not? I never ended up finishing doing that because I didn't want to finish it, but still, and I was in Windows. It was like, I'm so sick of Linux. It has these small little issues. I'm just gonna go back to Windows like I always do. Went back on Windows, and I realized like, oh my god, Alt tabbing is fucking god awful, and I like, it doesn't always go where I want. I'm like, oh my god, it was right then, literally at that moment, I closed Visual Studio, just stared at my monitor for a second, put in my USB, and started installing Arch again. Because, dude, like, seriously, it's undescribable how much better of a development experience using a tiling window manager is. It's crazy. And, like, I know there's probably something you could do for Windows to get some of the functionality, but to be honest, I don't trust Windows with its performance to be able to handle something like this. Like, I have quite a few things open, but because I'm on Linux, I'm confident it can handle having all this open at the same time. Windows, I don't have as much trust that it can handle that. Don't say it wasn't doing anything. So it's like, if you are okay tinkering with stuff. Oh, you might also notice I don't really have any borders here. I don't like borders. Or like a gap. I just think it looks bad. Hyprland is extremely customizable, which brings me into my point. It takes one config file. I have a hyprland.conf file in my second drive, and whenever I want to go to Hyprland or whenever I want to install a new Linux distro, I drag that in. All my monitor settings, all my keybinds, absolutely everything immediately populates. But that does come with a trade-off. Whenever you modify it, you're modifying it like this. Like if I open it, I can actually open it up for you specifically, the person watching this video. If I open up my hyprland.conf file, you can see you have to edit it manually, which some people don't like, but I actually am pretty fine with it. Like I'm comfortable doing this. You can see this is basically everything just written down, and I'm a programmer. I know how to edit a file. And honestly, it's been a great experience. There are things I don't like about the Linux, or let me interject for a moment. What you're referring to as Linux is technically GNU/Linux, as I'm taking to calling it. I'm sorry, that wasn't funny. But on GNU Linux, I don't like gaming. That's kind of annoying. I think that's pretty shared. It has gotten a lot better with Proton. I still am not a big fan. Proton is great, but obviously native Windows is significantly better. Game like this game specifically, Black Mesa, I play on Linux because I don't like going to Windows. I would genuinely rather do this on Hyprland than go to Windows. But I still use Windows for video editing, for example, because DaVinci Resolve and Kdenlive is absolute dog shit. Don't fight me on that. DaVinci Resolve doesn't even support MP4. I think that's true for Windows as well. Whatever. I prefer to use my pirated version of Adobe Premiere Pro on Windows. Okay. If you're thinking about this, if you're a programmer or someone who's technically inclined, if you're a super user and you think, hey, I can work around a few config files, I'm not a dumbass, then I would highly recommend you do this because, dude, this is an experience. This is a crazy experience. And it can do pretty much everything I can on Windows, just better. So, if you're looking for a reason to escape, if you're like me and you always want to switch to Linux, but you just need something to like grapple you on, like something to really convince you to stay, try Hyprland. And I promise it's like a gateway drug. Like I can't leave it because I don't want to. Hyprland is just so much better.